and welcome back to another episode of Conservation Stories. Conservation Stories is a podcast that's sponsored by the Sand Hill Area Research Association, or SARA. SARA is interested in all kinds of things that have to do with rural economics, any kind of ecosystem, as you all know if you've listened to our podcast before. And this episode today is going to be especially interesting because we have a local startup that is producing some really amazing product from beef. And we are like the beef capital of the world, you know, guys. So I'm going to do some introductions here and let you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. Billy Knox, down here on the end.
Yeah.
Navy veteran.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
Discharged. I'm from Houston originally.
Oh,
so
did you know that it's drier here than it is in Houston?
I am very aware of that. Yeah. Yeah. I was stationed in Florida before we came here too. And
wow.
The lack of humidity it's very nice. I've adjusted well. So, I don't know if I can go back.
What brought you to Lubbock?
I got married to a girl from here.
Okay.
She followed me around in the Navy for 10 years. And
okay. Turnabout's fair play.
Yeah. Well, when I got done, she got full veto power and we decided to move down the street from her folks who are wonderful, nice. Super helpful.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
With the kiddos. And so, yeah, that's what brought us here.
Yeah, it's great. My kids grew up within 35 miles of 4 sets of great-grandparents.
That's awesome.
That's pretty unique. And boy, it gives a lot of roots.
Yeah, it
really
does. We're like a mile down the street from them. And I think they probably would wish it was maybe more like 35. We're over there quite a bit, but
I doubt it.
But the first half of their lives, they weren't really around so much. So we're trying to build some roots.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now we have my long lost cousin.
Ian
Timmons. And this is actually a fact because we did find this out
before
the podcast that we are actually connected through Alexander Ambrose.
At least through AA Timmons.
Yes, AA Timmons.
Not the group.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But yeah, I'm Ian Timmons. I am a Lubbock guy. I own Tom and Bingo's barbecue for the past.
I did not know that. This is Tom and Bingo's, and we are so sad that Tom and Bingo's is gone.
Well, thank you, but it did birth Beefy, so
okay.
It is a continuation, I would say, of Tom and Bingo's, and I mean it's made of brisket. I cooked brisket for 10 years, so it spawned from Tom and Bingo's. But yeah, I'm a Lubbock guy. Went to school here. Went to Texas Tech.
Okay.
So yeah.
You got a family here?
I do. Yeah.
Kids earlier.
Got 2 kids, 2 girls, 5 and 7, beautiful girls. And my parents and my wife's parents are both from here. So as you get older, those roots tend to matter to me more so than, I lived in Denver for a while and that was nice. But as I get older, I like to be close to my roots.
Yes.
And
so in case my children who live in Denver are listening to this podcast, please take note.
Do they have kids yet?
No.
Yeah, that's the game changer.
Yeah.
You have kids and you're like, we need help.
So. That I cannot imagine because we did have a lot of help and it really was a huge blessing.
Yeah, that is the flex when you're a parent to be by grandparents.
Yes, yeah, it makes a lot of difference. So Tom and Bingo's sadly closed, and you did that obviously because you have this new product.
Yeah.
Were you selling it while Tom and Bingo's was going, or did you kind of like come up with this idea?
Yeah, so I guess we can go to the start of the creation of Beefy.
Start at the very beginning.
Yeah, well, I took over Tom and Bingo's in 2017. Me and my wife moved back to Lubbock to take over Tom and Bingo's. 3 weeks after we moved back, my father-in-law, Dwayne, who owned Tom and Bingo's, died suddenly. So I was kind of in this crazy situation where I had this institution all on my shoulders all of a sudden. So I had to figure it out. And
everybody's grieving.
Yeah. It was quite a weird situation.
I'm sorry about
but
that.
but that kind of pressure, I think, is what sent me down this rabbit hole of just being completely obsessed with trying to maintain the standards of Tom and Bingo's and keep all the customers happy, and not only do that, but do it in my own way. So I took a master class from Aaron Franklin, like the actual masterclass.com or whatever online.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. And this was before I had kids, and I finished it on a Friday, and I was like, I have to go to Franklin's. And I finished it like Friday morning, and Friday afternoon, I was in Austin. And then I just went down a rabbit hole of being obsessed with smoking meat and cooking all kinds of meat, making sausages, and then building connections and networking in that space too of barbecue pitmasters. There's not many people that cook on that level for the public. So it's a tight-knit community. And I just kind of like woke up like 8 years later from this obsession, and I was like, oh, I have kids, I have a family, like who are these people? And I realized that, you
have ADD by chance?
Yeah, I don't know, not diagnosed.
hyper focus, yes.
But it's easy, when you find something that you love and that you're passionate about, it's easy to just kind of lose yourself in that. And that's a good thing, so that's kind of my time with Tom and Bingo's. We got on Texas Monthly Top 100 list. Yeah. I think we did just a fantastic job of bringing an old school joint that, had such deep roots in the community, bringing it from just a sandwich shop to a new school type of butcher style barbecue joint where everything was made in house: sausage, ribs, burgers, all the sides. And we stuck to the original 1952 brick pit. So that was my big thing, was like cooking on that pit was kind of the connection between like myself and all the other previous pitmasters, and just that like barbecue lineage was like really important to me. So once that pit started to break down after 75 years, everything was kind of lost. All the magic of the place was lost. And I got a grant from Lita to move and to get a new pit. But I just had this feeling of like it wouldn't be the same because all the walls have the stored memories and there was so much history there that if I tried to move that, it just I kind of just lost my passion for it. And I don't know, in some weird way, I just didn't feel like it was right. And 75 years is a great run for a restaurant. So it was like, well, the time it feels like it's time, like it's meant to be. And then, go to, Tom and Bingo's closed in January. 6 months before that, a friend of mine, and the community knows him, Lloyd Turner, owner of Caprock and Orlando's, walks into my pit room, brings me a bag of a similar product and as Beefy, and is like, hey, I'm on this carnivore diet. Do you think you can make me something similar to this? I will buy thousands of dollars of meat from you. I tried it, and it was odd. It tasted very weird. And there was a lot of like technical things that were wrong with it that I could see from a pitmaster's perspective. Okay. So, I thought it was weird, and like, I just kind of had a bag around for a few weeks. I didn't touch it. I didn't think about it. I just kind of was just kind of like looking at me. And then after a couple weeks, I was like, I'll try it. I bought like a $300 dehydrator and little slicer, maybe like spent like $400 or $500 for this little setup, and started making it in my garage. And it was not good. Like first few iterations, it was quite bad. But after a few, maybe 5 cooking iterations, I started taking it to my jiu-jitsu guys at Bueno Jiu-Jitsu, and they started just like eating it up, just wanting it high protein, clean, healthy snacks. And then I just started getting obsessed. Just like, I guess I do. Maybe I do have ADD because I started going down that rabbit hole of drying meat and making these unique meat chips that really the textural experience is very unique, and most people it's original.
Yes, and so in that, like, let's talk just a little bit about the product. I've had it when I come here. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
it's like a chip that's crispy, but it also is it like eating a piece of bacon? I mean, it's the equivalent to me of how much I love bacon.
Yeah,
and it's like when I eat that's what it reminds me of, is like the best crispy bacon you've ever eaten.
Yeah, and it has another element of texture to it other than like crispy bacon. Then it becomes like even a little bit melty at the end.
Right.
Like
that's what it is.
It has like a buttery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It's very addicting and it's clean and it's healthy. And I just once I started going down that, it started naturally kind of taking off. The client list just started growing. And then I met Billy, and that's when it really took off.
So you guys didn't know each other before this venture?
We had met like once at a wedding in Utah or something like that. I think was the first time we met.
Our wives were friends growing up.
Okay.
So we kind of knew of each other. And when we moved back here, Chrissy and Ian were kind of like our first friends. Like, we're like, oh,
gotcha.
Some people we know other than my wife's parents.
Right. Yeah.
So we connected that way.
And your background in the Navy has probably really brought a lot of structure and business, like logistics, to the project.
Yeah. Ian's definitely like the passion and soul of it.
The kite.
And I've got a lot of spreadsheets if you guys are interested.
He's the kite and you are the string. And then a lot of times, like in my situation, my husband, I say he is not the string, he's the rock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody's got to have the idea, but somebody's got to be holding on to that idea and making sure it's
I think it works
fabulous.
well together. I mean, in any founder relationship, there's stuff you got to figure out, but I came on board. We moved back here, and my wife had tried them because my last year in the Navy, I was deployed. So she moved back here, and she had tried them and was like, "Yo, you've got to try these like meat chips that Ian's making." And I tried them and had like a quasi-religious moment. And
they're amazing. Do we have a sample of one? I mean, I know
we can just
some bad. Let's open up one and let's just kind of look at one and see.
Let's do it.
They really are. There's, I don't know that there's really anything comparable when you're trying to explain to people what they are.
Yeah, it's.
See, look at that.
But
also, it's this piece right here. Can you zoom in on this?
So
this piece right here,
extreme close up.
This is what is the butter part to me. It's like it has the marbling is what makes that sense. I'm sorry, I'm gonna eat this.
Yeah, no. So traditionally, I mean, I don't really love to. It's crunchy like a chip.
It's crunchy.
I don't love to compare it to jerky just because it's.
No, it's not like jerky at all.
No, it's like comparing a burger to a steak. It's like they're both beef, but
it's good.
Most traditional jerkies are cut and cooked from really dry pieces of beef. So you get that very hard, chewy,
right? The
leathery type of texture. And this new idea is like keep the fat on, and fat's actually really healthy for you.
Right.
And it just delivers such a different type of product. It's
delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also where flavor comes from.
Right.
Lo and behold. So
and when you're thinking about jerky, which there's some great jerky out there, but also there's you have to put a lot of stuff back into it to give it a really good flavor.
Yeah. Most jerky is like, a ton of preservatives, a ton of sugar, all kinds of bad stuff, microbials that aren't even on the ingredients list. And most jerky, unless it's very natural, isn't exactly healthy for you, just with all the additives and preservatives and whatnot.
I would just say that you just used one of my favorite words.
Microbial?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Microbes was my word of the year in like 2021.
Really?
Yes, some women are like joy, peace. No, mine was microbes.
Okay.
Yes. So my friend Sarah Burnett is a microbe like guru. She owns Texas Earth here, and she got me into that rabbit hole. This is why I recognize hyper focus. It's been a whole year going, what can I learn about microbes?
Yeah.
It's a whole unseen universe.
So interesting. Her father in the 70s was getting his master's at, I believe, at Tech. And his thesis was on, do the microbes in the soil that the cattle that's growing the grass that the cattle graze on impact the meat? And this was like back in the 70s when no one was talking about microbes at all. I mean, even the discussion of microbes in the soil is something that 10 years ago, it was just a thing that some people were talking about.
Yeah, it's still pretty nascent on the fringes, which, we should do more to push that into, but it is coming full circle, regenerative farming and things like that. People are starting to realize that, hey, everything's connected, right?
Ecosystems.
Yeah.
It is. It's all connected. It's all this circular. And the more that we can keep that connected and not try to disconnect it, I think about things being in a loop. We think about a value chain, and I think about a loop more often, that when we disconnect that, somebody on one end or the other is going to get left with the pickings, and I feel like you put, just even in our modern system of the way farmers get paid, so often there's so many people in that value chain that are pulling the true value out of that crop. And so the farmer's just not getting, what they're worth. They're not
which is crazy, right? They're the ones actually creating the value. And then people down the chain are, because they own distribution rights or whatever it may be, or are using their power and influence to extract more value than probably they should be.
Right.
That's actually something that we're super interested in as a new CPG startup. Like, what does our distribution channel look like? What does our distribution chain look like? And
so for people that are listening, CPG is consumer packaged good.
Yeah. You got to get down with the lingo. We didn't know what it meant when we started this company.
This is something I have just recently learned.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I think we went to like a meeting and everybody was saying it, and we were like, hey, Ian,
we are that.
What does that mean?
Excuse me, I've got to take a call.
Yeah.
Google.
But that's something that we're looking at, like, traditional distribution methods, and do they really, how can we return value to the places where we think value should belong?
Yes.
The producers, the farmers, the, farmers markets, things that are as close to the source as possible. And that's really something that is at the core of our ethos is, getting as close to the source as we possibly can. I mean, our original chips is just brisket and salt, and we don't do anything weird to it. We don't put preservatives in it. It's literally, if you come by the facility, you'll see guys slicing brisket, putting it on a tray, and then putting it in a dehydrator, we dehydrate it. But the closer we can get to that source, we feel like the more value it has to the end consumer, and really across the supply chain in general.
Right. Well, and it's such a great, you just kind of, you're hitting your stride at such a good time with, the things that are happening and the recognition that's being brought to local, and I can tell you, like, years ago when organics first became a thing, I was like, this is the stupid fad that will pass. And so you realize, no, it's a, whether you, you can argue, I think either side, that organics, there's no added value or there is added value. People are it's a market. It's a market that farmers can, participate in, and some of them have chosen to do that, and so I think, though, the fact that here we are 30 plus years into the fad. And so I I've definitely learned like that the things that I have, because I haven't had the experience that other people have had, a lot of times I would dismiss what people think or believe, because the only experience I've ever had is the experience of growing up here, you know? And so I think that's something that's good that's happened like with the internet, and something that happened for me when I started traveling outside of this area is realizing that these are people that have real life experiences that are of equal importance and value as my real life experience. And for me to dismiss what they're saying and the things that they have found is really ignorant.
Yeah.
It's ignorant.
And I think that hits a particularly special chord today with what happened yesterday with Charlie Kirk and I know. Man, that's something I'm super passionate about. I put my life on the line for a decade in the United States Navy to defend the right to, the right of free speech, the right of, to be who you want to be, to love who you want, to be the person that you want. And I think that that's something that this is maybe a little bit off topic, but
it's all
I think we could all, I think we could all learn to refocus on that on a daily basis, right?
And it is important, because at the same time that what happened with Charlie Kirk, 20 minutes from my son's school, there was a mass school shooting, another school shooting, and so those are two things. So these are two truths, right? That we have the right to keep and bear arms, and that the most likely thing a child is going to die by is a school shooting. So those are two truths that are happening simultaneously. And we have to find a way in our country to be willing to say both things are true, even though they have opposing, they're kind of on the opposite side.
Yeah.
It's something that we don't have. We don't seem to have the skill to know how to manage.
Yeah. Well, I think we've lost the ability to be cordial and respectful and have differing opinions. I mean,
right.
That's something as co-founders, right? We're both, we both have ideas about how to run a business. They don't always align, but we still there's still mutual respect amongst ourselves. And it's how do we imbue that into society again?
Yes. Right.
We need to get back to this place where it's okay to disagree. It's okay to think differently. Let's look at facts. Let's remove emotion from the equation sometimes, and let's be respectful of one another.
And I think too, we really are pawns to the media, and the propaganda on both sides that's out there. And, I told my mom, it's if it makes you mad or sad or scared, it's propaganda. That's what that's intended to do, and so, that creates, and then that actually, it triggers people that have mental health issues. Hey friends, I'm excited to tell you about NASA. NASA Acres, which is part of the Earth Science Division of NASA, is coming to our area. They're coming here because they want to learn about how we farm, and they want to see if there's ways that they can help us. So NASA Acres is a project that we've been partnering with for several months now, and they will be here for ag tours October the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And we will be in Terry County. We will be heading then up to Crest and over to Morton. We're going to be in a lot of different places. We're going to put that agenda up on our website on the homepage so you can see where we are. And if you want to come by and just see what do they have to do with agriculture, we would love for you to meet these folks. They want to meet you. They want to talk about maybe how you can participate and have remote sensing information available for your farm. This is a farmer-led effort. So if you're an ag business, or if you're a farmer, come out and just kick the tires on what it might be like to partner with NASA on an ag project.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I mean, kind of bring this back to something that we've learned, along the process is in the food industry, we're learning that, the line that we've been given or the things that we hold true aren't necessarily correct, right? Like I went down this rabbit hole. I'm like Ian, I go down rabbit holes all the time. I mean, when we started Beefy, I read the food code to, figure out, okay, what do we need to do to actually bring a product to market?
Yes.
And I told an USDA advisor that, and they were like, you actually read that? Like, why would you do that? That sounds horrible. But for instance, the thesis on fat, right? Like Ian mentioned earlier, there's fat in the chip. Well, that's where flavor comes from. If you trace the origins of like the low fat craze diet, it's crazy. There was this doctor, Ansel Keys, who in the I believe the 60s wrote this like horrendously inaccurate population study correlating like heart disease with consumption of like saturated fats, but he picked and chose which countries, and it's like statistically it's absolute garbage. Yeah. But he was very charismatic and he was very loud, and so people just kind of assumed, and he was a doctor. And then the food companies, caught on, and it gained popularity. This low fat idea gained popularity. So what did food companies do? They removed fat from food. What happens when we remove fat from food? It tastes like cardboard. Right. So in order to counteract that, we injected sugar. Yeah. And then not only did we inject sugar, but then we mutated sugar into high fructose corn syrup and these things that are, 3x, 5x, 10x, the glycemic index of just normal sugar. And that lasted through, until really now, like I feel like it's,
now people are
kind of catching on that okay, hey, sugar's not really, and it's interesting if you look at, I found this really interesting graph on the CDC. If you look at the instances of like type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, and obesity, and just growth in the population, it correlates like almost exactly with this movement to remove fat from food and then to replace it with sugar. Yeah. So, it kind of further iterates that idea that you don't always need to believe the main thing, the main line. Like let's get into and I think that's like a pillar that we've built Beefy on, is like, hey, let's get back to the roots. Let's get back to what's real. Let's get back to as close to the source as possible. Right.
And that, not only you're talking about like how the improvements it does for your health, but you also think about like when you have locally grown and sourced food, then when the supply chain gets disrupted, you have the ability to still take care of yourself. Yeah. And your local region. So to me, I'm not like, let's get rid of the, long distance supply chain. I think we need both. I think, but the emphasis has been on the longer supply chain more than on the local supply chain. But I know you guys probably are well aware how difficult that is, that it doesn't, and it depends really on where you are. I know that our friends at Frontier Market in Plainview, they can go to Canyon Farmers Market and they will have a 45-minute line before they even open until they're sold out.
That's crazy.
But they can't get it sold here in Lubbock. And so it's really just the difference even between Amarillo and Lubbock, the cultural difference, of what people are interested in or value or willing to put their money in, or even maybe are aware of,
Yeah. So we actually have a really interesting idea back to what we were talking about, but like distribution channels. And one of the fun things about building a company is you get to kind of dissect the way things are done. And I had a really interesting skipper in the Navy who I got in trouble once because I was in the wrong uniform over the weekend, and he came in and he was like, "Why are you wearing that uniform?" And I looked at him, I was like, this is the uniform we wear on the weekends. It's like, because this is the way it's always been done. And he looked at me and he was like, "That's the laziest answer to any question that you could possibly give." If you would have told me because it's in the, regulations, or because the previous skipper gave us, permission or whatever, I would accept that. But to say, because it's the way it's always been done, that just tells me that you're not willing to like put forth the effort to dig and find out the reason why. And I've kind of adopted that as like a very poignant life lesson, and I try and take that into the things that I do. But with the distribution model, as a new CPG, there's plenty of people that want to give us opinions on what to do, right? And one of the things is, oh, you guys need to be in grocery stores, and you need to be talking to distributors, and you need to be talking to retailers. And one of the things that we've really enjoyed is being able to say, well, okay, why do we need to do that? You say that we need to do that because that's what everybody else does, but is that really the best option? And one of the things that we'd really like to explore is building out a distribution model where we go to like farmers markets. Instead of going to large chain grocery stores, we go to farmers markets. And there's a little bit of resistance because a lot of farmers markets want things to be local. But I really love this idea of like, what if we reimagine what a farmer's market was? What if it was a hybrid model of most things are local, but then you have some regional products and you have some national products. And then it truly becomes this like one-stop shop, and make people pay for access. Like, if we wanted to access to a market in, Houston, for instance, like we would pay for that. We'd have to pay a distributor.
Yes. Yeah.
So why not charge an extra fee for...
Well, the other thing you're doing is you're making a product exclusive to the people that are trying to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when you do that, then you're expanding their customer base, because customers that want this now have to go to them to get it locally. So what you're doing is you've reimagined how to use a long supply chain to beef up a local supply chain.
1,000%. And that's one of the visions we have, is like, if we could take this product and we could build something like that, and then we could use, the brand awareness that we built to then not just move our product, because at the end of the day, we're a for-profit company. And
you need to make money.
We have to make money. But if we can raise awareness for local vendors, if we can raise foot traffic, if we can divert some of our profits into local economies, if we can use that, like someone's got to work our booths, right? Well, those are jobs. Those are jobs created in that local economy. And so you can kind of reimagine the distribution chain.
Exactly.
And, some people think I'm crazy when I say that. They're like, that's so difficult. I'm like, Elon Musk can land used rockets on floating barges in the ocean. Like, we can tweak the distribution model. Like we can do that.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
And you get to close that loop of, instead of the supply chain, we're back in the communities, and we get to, talk with the people and
make that connection
and have that relationship with our customers. And instead of making it a chain, like you said, it kind of closes that loop.
To me, the brilliance of that is that how difficult it is for, somebody like the Frontier Market or Sunburst Farms, or, people that are locally trying to make a living providing what people say they want, but sometimes they aren't there putting their pocketbook, right? You know what I mean? And so when you're able to increase the awareness for those people and give people more of a reason to come in, I just think that it's just a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Just a bunch of hard work between an idea and reality. That's it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 now, I was at a consumer packaged goods conference in Denver called Newtopia.
We were there.
Yeah. Our brand was there.
Not technically, we weren't there, but Beefy was there.
Yeah.
Beefy was there. Really?
Yeah. We had there's a group, the Angel Group.
Okay.
They're an angel investing syndicate. They sponsored our brand, and we were one of 6 new up and coming CPG products that they highlighted. So
that was a really interesting. Now I go to conferences all the time, and a consumer packaged good, that was probably one of the best as far as networking and what I came away with. Like there's a company called Zero Foodprint. Have you heard of this company? Mm-hmm. So Zero Foodprint works with retailers and restaurants. So like in Denver, the Subway food chain, restaurant chain, they do like I think it's like a 0.04% surcharge on every receipt. And all that money goes directly to farmers for incentives for different types of, either regenerative or conservation efforts or things like that. And so they're not relying on the government programs that come and go, and we're talking about less than half a cent.
Yeah.
I mean, what customer is going to even know? They're never going to feel that. You're not going to feel that. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, that is to me just such a brilliant, that's the kind of people that were there that were thinking in the way that you're thinking, you know?
How do we solve these big problems?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. We have a little bit of FOMO that we next year, we'll get them next year. Yeah. Yeah.
I will say it was a great event, albeit pricey.
Yeah.
But it's a great event.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was the constraint for us is we're still swinging hammers and doing dishes and
I can see
cleaning
that.
the toilets. So
So where are you guys set up as far as your where you
sell?
Yeah, to where you putting all this together, your warehouse.
Oh whatever. Yeah, so we built a custom facility on the south side of town. When Ian and I got together, we ran the numbers and we're like, yeah, I think this can be something. So we took the plunge and we rented out a industrial warehouse space, which one of the benefits of Lubbock is that it's very easy to find.
Yes, it is.
Cheap, affordable space. But so we built a custom facility. We crafted a kitchen to USDA standards so that we can then go through the certification processes. And we do everything in house. So we get raw brisket sent in, and we've got a team that processes everything for us, and we ship out from there. So.
And let me explain a little bit more on that. When Billy says we built a production facility, going back to rabbit holes, Billy went down the construction rabbit hole. We actually literally built our own facility. So Billy is a very handy guy, and we did everything ourselves. Going back to keeping everything in a circle, or whatever what word were we using? Ecosystem. That's right. Most people that make a CPG product, they're going to create it and then they're going to send it to a co-packer to then make. That was one of the things that we didn't want to do. We wanted to keep full control of our product, the quality. And with such a new product like this, we can't send it to a co-packer because they're not going to do it as well as we can. And we wanted to keep the jobs local here and provide jobs for people too.
I love that.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Grinding concrete was not fun. That's a job I'll never do.
Or drywall.
But drywall is not so fun. But yeah, it's fun solving problems and it's fun to build something and then step back and look and say, hey, which is something I think we kind of lose sight of. Like I would imagine, farmers, ranchers, trades, anything in the trades, like there's this like feedback loop, right? But there's so much of what we do today is like online or on a computer, and you spin your wheels all day long and you're like, did I actually add value to the ecosystem? I don't know. Maybe not. But it's cool to actually build something and then to step back and say, okay, hey.
That's so exciting. Yeah. It's so good. So what's next?
I mean, we still have a lot of building to do. Only a tiny percentage of people know about Beefy. So we definitely want to, continue to grow the business and to help shape the food industry, not just for Beefy, but to flip the script on what is possible through distribution, through manufacturing, through sourcing, all kinds of stuff. And then, we'd love to give back to the community. We're both interested in changing, the snacking programs in our school. We both have kids that, have access to a snack bar every day, and that snack bar is full of processed junk that to me doesn't feel right for our schools to be giving our kids. So we'd like to be a voice there, and I think it doesn't start with one person, but if more voices can more parents taking action can be involved, I think that's when kind of change comes about. But those are a couple of the things that is on the horizon for us, and just trying to make healthy, honest products that people still enjoy, that are still delicious.
Make that most when you think about something like, I've yet to find a protein bar that I don't want to just gag.
Yeah. So that's what we really wanted to do with Beefy, is to make a healthy, clean, honest product and still make it taste really delicious, that, so that people are still excited about, because that's one of the things. Generally, if it's healthy, it tastes like it's healthy, and not in a good way.
Right. Well, and that's, part of, I think the struggle, I've had several conversations with people on school lunches, that work in that arena. And, part of the problem is that once you have your taste buds are so acclimated to that high sugar taste, it's really difficult to get a kid to choose an apple or grapes or something if you've given them a little Debbie snack.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah, but you're not going to do that.
They're kids. It's our responsibility as as parents, as leaders in the community. It's our responsibility to provide them with healthy options and it's just the kid thing is so crazy. Me and Ian are so passionate about that. We have small kids, but it's just talk about a broken system, because these kids go to school, and an hour and a half into the day, they're going to a snack bar and they're buying, Skittles. And it's okay, well, that kid's not going to pay attention the rest of the day.
Right.
They're going to be bouncing off the walls.
Right.
And why are we expecting them to,
Right.
We're providing all these horrible options for them. And then we're saying, oh, you're a troubled kid, or you have ADHD or whatever.
Yes,
and it's it's just such a broken system. And why do they need, I have a 2-year-old son, and he goes to this Mother's Day out, and I swear every day they're giving him lollipops, and I was he doesn't even know what that is.
Right.
Why does he need to have that?
Yeah.
Give him a piece of string cheese or something.
Right.
He's just as happy. as happy.
Yeah.
And ultimately it's what's good for them. There's a responsibility that we have as parents, and then not just as parents, but as administrators, as in the school system, that there's just better options out there.
Even that don't have kids have a responsibility towards that next generation too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got a granddaughter that goes to public school, but that means all the other students aren't connected to me very much, you know what I mean? But still I feel a sense of this is who's coming after me.
Yeah.
There is a sense of I do feel responsible to make certain that not only that I leave things better than I was given them, but that I've equipped the people that come after me to know what's right, or to let them have all the information to decide for themselves what's right, but also to protect them from, we spend a lot of time worried about what kids are reading in a school, but we don't hear people talking about this. People aren't angry about the fact that a kid's getting a bag of Skittles.
Come over to our house. You'll hear some angry words. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't hear the vitriol, you know what I mean? And the passion that people have, like, you know, to take things out of schools and, you know what I mean? Like books and stuff, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, if we have that same type of passion and energy towards, nutrition, right? You know, we can't, this is kind of like, to me, it's like that we're looking at the wrong part of the pyramid of our needs. Yeah. You know, that down there is the basis of our needs. Yep. You know what I mean? And so we haven't even given the kids a good foundation before we even start expecting other things for them, you know?
Yeah. And part of our like goal, our ethos, because it's one thing to like complain about something. It's totally another thing to like be like, hey, here's the solution.
That's exactly right.
And so one of the things that's really exciting about this is that, you know, Ian's created this product and we're building this company around this thing that like, hey, like you can take something that is as close to the source as possible, do as little as possible to alter it or to alter its like flavor profile, and it is still like crave-worthy delicious. And what's really cool about being in CPG, the consumer packaged goods space right now, is like it's happening on like a larger scale. You're starting to see brands emerge that are, you know, 1, 2, 3 ingredients, like very close to the source, very minimally processed. And so there's kind of this like groundswell coming up, and it's really fun to like be a part of it and to be a part of the conversation. But you know, you can bang your drum all day long, but if you don't have a solution to the problem.
And you have to look at the problem holistically. So when you think about like what is driving the consumer choices that we make, and part of that is that we live in a culture where people have to work a lot of hours to make a living. And when you have, you know, people who are making minimum wage to provide for their family, and maybe they're getting $300 a month in food stamps, which is probably about what they would get per kid or per person, which we all know is not enough, right? Yeah. If you're going to go, you know what I mean? So you either have time or you have money, but generally you do not have both in our society.
Yeah. Well, there's also another scary statistic of parents who, in Lubbock, I don't know outside of Lubbock, but who don't qualify for food stamps and who still don't have enough money to pay their bills. Yeah. And I think it's my wife is an ambassador for Cooper, and I think it's a scary number, like up in the 40% of parents. So that is
it is. I know that my husband and I, we went through bankruptcy when our 4 kids were smaller, and I mean we were making like $30,000 a year. We had 4 kids. We could not qualify. We didn't qualify. That's crazy. The 4 children. And I mean, I went in to talk to the lady about it, and she was basically in tears. You know what I mean? Like, here's someone who is like, it's her job to help me, and she knows that we need it. But there's no way for her to help me do that, you know? And so, you know, I think like during that time, my parents, my dad was raising, he would bring us, you know, a full, you know, cow, a beef every, you know, like twice a year, you know, and we had a freezer, and that's what we lived on. You know what I mean? Like my kids, when they started providing for themselves, they're like, okay, now I understand beans and rice.
Yeah.
You know, but I was also not working. I was a stay-at-home mom. I was homeschooling my kids. So there's a lot of privilege to that.
Yeah.
So I had time as that stay-at-home mom
to invest.
Right. So I was, you know, making that sacrifice, but because I could afford to do that, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say, I was trading off time for money. Hey friends, here on the High Plains, we have got a chance to work with NASA's Develop project. The focus is cover crops, using satellite tools to identify things like when they were planted and how they're managed, and how can we build real research to see what value they bring or maybe they don't bring. So if you're a farmer, you're planting cover crops, we'd love your help. A short form will be sent to you with some basic information like your planting date, termination date, maybe the years that you had cover crops. Your information is going to stay protected, but it'll make a really big difference in showing what cover crops are really worth having in our region. If you want more information, want to be part of this, you can visit sarah-conservation.com. We'll have some information there. And you can also reach out to me at contact sarah-conservation.com, and I would be happy to put your name on the list. Thank you very much.
Which that's an interesting concept too. Like we talk about this all the time because my wife, she was a military spouse, and man, I feel like anything associated with like childcare and taking care of children is like discounted at
it is.
A 99% rate. And it's like, you know, like
people that get paid the least, people that take care of our old people, and people that take care of our babies.
Yeah. Which is bizarre. It's insane.
Teachers,
it's crazy. Yeah. Like the amount of value added to, you know, like I mean, the context that we view it through is like, I was in the Navy for a decade, and I would go on deployments, and I would come home and people would pat me on the back and say, you know, hey, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for your service. And my wife is like right there. And like, you know, I went on, you know, these 7 months, they weren't vacations by any means. We were doing dangerous stuff, but like my wife was at home. She was a single mom. She was, you know,
24/7.
She was 24/7, no break. Like I watch my kids for a long weekend. And when my wife gets home, I'm like, I need some beer. I need some space, you know?
Right.
And there's no like, there's a real lack of appreciation for that.
I think our culture values productivity.
Yeah.
You know, and my dad and I were talking about how greed is so, he's like, it's like we don't think it's wrong. And I said, no, it is a virtue. Greed is a virtue.
Yeah.
And more. Productivity. And so when we value the productivity of people, then we dehumanize the people that cannot be productive. And so we're not going to spend money on the people that don't produce.
Yeah. There's also this weird, I think there's like kind of a broken, I don't want to say family structure, but so I graduated with a finance degree, and much to the chagrin of my parents, I joined the Peace Corps out of school, and I went and lived in Europe. And it was really fascinating to see like family structures. There's 3 generations living in a home, all taking care of each other. It is this like, it's an ecosystem. It 100% is an ecosystem. And like, we don't do that. We don't do that at all.
Right.
To the point that it's like, it's like weird, you know, but but it's because we don't, I think as a culture, we don't really value that, that, you know, the contributions of caretakers or whatever. It's all about, you know, show me the money, right? Show me the Benjamins.
Exactly.
But like at the end of the day, you could die with all the money in the world and no one cares.
This is turning into a depressing conversation.
No.
So we're going to turn it around.
Yeah.
Because the truth is like, until you recognize the problems and identify them, you really can't, you have to give them a name, and you have to really believe that they're there before you can begin to start thinking about the change that you can bring. You know, and it is very encouraging to me as a person who's worked in our community to try to do things and have hit brick walls so many times, surprising amount of brick walls, you know, and to see like that you guys are, you know, you're who's going to be the leaders. You know what I mean? Like you are that's who we're looking to. We're all dying.
Scary thought.
I'm like, my parents are aged, they're getting to their 80s. I'm about to be the old generation. So like to hear you guys talk about recognizing that these are problems that we're having in our society, and you're thinking deeply about what's causing them and how we can bring solutions, that is extremely encouraging to me. And I want to say thank you very much for thinking about these things. and valuing, valuing being here, valuing the culture that we have, but not just accepting it and embracing it so much that you can't see that some things are wrong.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and you're welcome, I guess. But before we get too positive, I do want to. I mean, I'm all for positivity.
I want to bring this back down a little bit.
Really quick, the last thing I'll say. I don't know if we need to wrap it up, but it is interesting that there does seem like there's like some sadness in the air.
Yes.
Today, September 11th, and what happened yesterday with Charlie Kirk, that goes back to like the whole ecosystem thing of like what happens to one of us. It's like we all feel that, and I think that's something that we should be more aware of, and of how we're all connected.
Yes, I didn't know about what happened to Charlie Kirk. I had got on Facebook or something, and I saw Sherry McMahon, which is one of my favorite. The only reason to get on Instagram is Sherry McMahon, and she was crying and talking about this. Now, she's somebody that I would say is probably ideologically not maybe in the same category as him, certainly not that far right. But she's like, this is not America I want to live in. I don't want to live in this kind of America. What can we do? How do we change that dynamic? And I hope that what we do here on this podcast is try to bring these discussions to the table in a way that people can hear them, because you can talk about things in a way that really does put people off,
Yeah.
And I hope that what we do is we bring these discussions and these ideas to help people think about, what they're doing. How can they be part of the solution? And I think there's this sense of, I can't make a difference. What I do can't make a difference. When I think that's not really true. That's
not true at all. Yeah. It's about our collective humanity, right? At the end of the day, we can have different opinions. We can think different. We can be on completely opposite ends of the spectrum ideologically, but we're all, daughters or husbands or wives or fathers or children, or, it's about finding, I think we're so obsessed about finding our differences when, why can't we flip the script on that? Like, why can't we be, hyper focused on finding our collective humanity and finding the things that connect us? Like when we came in and you guys immediately made that connection about, we have the same last name. Yes. Like, it's like, I think there just needs to be a lot more.
And I think that's something that we have that's unique in the United States, that, that we could take this melting pot and make it like something, so unique to us. But we, in a way, what we do is everyone throws all their colors in together. And if you've ever seen every single color of Play-Doh mixed up, what you get is like an ugly gray, and that's what I noticed about going to Europe, was that the cultures were so distinct, right? And maybe, being able to allow people to be who they are, and without forcing this sense of complete integration into our society. When we do that, our society becomes just this generic, gray, colorless, when we stay like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we need to celebrate our differences.
I think
that's
so.
What makes the world interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
One of my favorite facts, I guess lack of a fact, is, what's the official language of the United States of America?
Yeah, we don't have one.
We don't have one.
I love that.
What's the official religion? We don't have one. Right? There is no creed. There's no belief system. There's no language. There's no culture. There's nothing that unites us except for the common thread of, the American dream of, hey, this is the land of, opportunity and as a veteran and as small business owners, and now we're building. I mean, we're living this actively on a day-to-day basis of like, going out and like rolling your sleeves up and that, that's one thing I love too about the kind of agricultural community is like there's that connection to the land, there's connection to work, there's connection to, but yeah, traveling, you've traveled, I've traveled quite a bit, and you go anywhere else in the world and you're not going to find this freedom, the freedom of speech, the freedom of thought, the freedom of, the exercise of religion. This is such a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful place because you and I can sit next to each other and have polarizing viewpoints. But at the end of the day, we all believe in the common shared.
Exactly. I have such close friends that are way to the left of me or way to the right of me. I've got a good friend who doesn't think we landed on the moon. And I'm like,
those people are fun.
I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know you don't. And she's like, well, we'll just ask the Lord one day. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But because I value her so much, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I hope that, I think most of us are like that, but when things like what happened to Charlie Kirk happen, you feel like that's who all of America is, because that's what we hear. And I don't think that we were, as humans, intended to hear every single bad thing that happens in every point of the world immediately.
Yeah. 24-hour news cycle isn't as helpful as, it's not healthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that it's worth, we have something that was unique, that was started, 200 years ago, and it's unique. It's not as unique as it once was. I spent time in Poland, and I think there's ways where they have more freedom than we do. And so it's just the freedom has gone across the globe, and even more in our lifetime. My lifetime, and I love for us to be able to keep that conversation going.
Yeah.
And raise our kids in a way that they know how to converse with people who don't agree with them.
Absolutely.
And, anyway.
And to be positive forces of impact, to go see a problem, create a solution, and to respect the people around them. And I think that's one of the coolest things about this is like our kids are watching us do this, and they're watching us pour our lives, our hearts and souls into this.
It is
this thing.
They are. I think that's something that I wish I had been more aware of, is how closely my kids were paying attention, even when I'm like,
oh, it's terrifying.
They're not paying attention. You know what I mean? They are. And it's not even just the things that you say or do. There is this soul connection of the attention, of the intentions behind what you're doing, that your kids, and when they become teenagers, wherever there's hypocrisy, I'm telling you, they can.
They'll smell it out.
They smell it a mile away. Mile away.
Yeah, I think my 6-year-old has gotten a jump start on that. I don't know. I don't know if she's waiting for the teenage years.
Well, I not to change the subject too much, but I will bring this back to CPG. The coolest thing about CPG that I've realized over the past year is that there are a lot of people who are trying to make products and are doing really good work to make products that are healthier. And that's why, the Newtopia networking with the CPG, we've experienced that too, is everybody is so supportive of each other because it feels like we're all kind of on this same mission to try and do better. Yeah. And something that I do want to bring a call to action that you kind of talked about earlier of like, people feel helpless. What can I do? There's so many big problems. And I spoke to the food director of Cooper ISD yesterday about just how do we change the snack bar? And her answer was kind of a little bit scary. And she kind of said that, obviously there's a lot of financial elements involved and politics. But a lot of the new guidelines are ruling, they kind of rule out whole foods. And, I think it's absolutely great to be excited for, the Make America Healthy Again. We're all on board, but there's also this thing that I haven't quite seen yet that I experienced yesterday of what could happen is, we could make some slight changes, and the people who are going to have the resources to change are the same companies that poisoned us for the past 50 years. They're going to slightly tweak their ingredient list, and they're going to have plenty of resources to do that. Then they're going to go upcharge that product
absolutely
a whole lot more. And then they're going to then be the ones that started the problem and then profit from the problem again.
Yes.
So something that I think that parents can do of kids, and this is, I just want to start the conversation because it's so complex and it's so layered. But when it comes back to what can we do, just like talk to people. Your voice is, most people think their voice is so, they don't understand how strong a simple email to a principal can be, or just voicing their concern.
How much difference it would make if one school sources their ground beef from a single rancher. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to need X thousands of pounds of ground beef.
And so to do that is that local rancher has to come in with the lowest bid. Yeah. And that's almost impossible when you're going up against a huge, farm. So,
or the parents need to get involved and say, hey, I don't care if it's the lowest bid. If there's a funding gap, like, we'll cover it.
Right.
Yeah. So
we'll support it.
So I don't think that parents should sit back and go, well, actually, there's all these changes, coming from the new administration, and it's about to happen. Well, I think it's great, but I don't think we should sit back and think that our government's about to take.
Well, and also a really great example of this is I was at Sprouts probably 2 years ago when all of these climate smart grants came out under the last administration. So they gave money to large corporations to give money. So they subsidize large corporations to subsidize farmers to put in regenerative practices. Okay, so I'm looking on the shelf and seeing a $7 can of soup that says regeneratively grown. And next to it is an organic can of soup that is like $3. And then there's a conventional, and it's like 99 cents. And I'm thinking to myself, 99 cents and $7. First of all, we don't even have a certification for regen. Like, what even does that mean? They just made that shit up, pardon me, and put it on the label.
Now it's getting real.
Yeah. And then what happens when the money's gone? I asked the leader in Washington, D.C. this question, like, okay, farmers are getting incentivized to do this. Companies are making products and giving them the label, and that money's going to be gone in 5 years. But that product will still be there. And they're like, well, our hope is that they'll continue to incentivize farmers. And I'm like, what is the saying about wishing in one hand and spitting in the other? I'm like, you got to be kidding. Like, that's not going to happen. Yeah. Why? They don't have any incentive to do that. Yeah. And so that is, I completely agree, and that's where, the conversation my dad and I had about like how greed is the maximizing profits is the most important thing, rather than how do we impact people, planet, and profits. What's the best for all three of those things? So maybe we aren't reaching the maximum profits, but actually we're helping people and we're improving the planet that we live on.
And I think one thing to add with that, and to kind of highlight what Ian's saying too, is how do we push those to small ecosystems?
Yes.
Because, like taking it back to what Ian said, is it's, you can feel on a global stage, you can feel like your voice doesn't matter, but it's your kid's school.
Yes, that's right. It matters. Do you all know who's in charge of the school lunch programs for the state of Texas? It is our ag commissioner. And our current ag commissioner is Sid Miller. And I just heard him on an interview talking about how all the changes that he's made and how he's fixed things and how much better they are. It'd be great to have a conversation with him, because if this is something that he's passionate about, why couldn't you take a single school in Lubbock, Texas, and see what else can be done? I'll tell you, like in other states that I have been to and seen, there are states that I've been to where I've been in small communities and there's not a single school that does not have a huge garden outside of it. And so right now, Farm Bureau has a grant for schools to apply to put in a garden. And kids are more likely to eat something that they have an invested interest in, a vested interest.
Yeah. My daughter hates tomatoes. My mother-in-law grows them in her backyard. She'll eat those tomatoes because she thinks it's cool.
Yeah.
1,000%. But because you have to affect change at your level. Like,
yes, right.
We joked around in the military, or who was it that said the worst phrase in the English language is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help.
I think that was Kennedy.
Yeah.
Was it Kennedy or Reagan? I can't remember anyway.
But it's so true.
Yes,
like you have to affect change at your level. And if you're waiting for the administration, whoever they are, I don't care what your belief is, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So let's roll it. And this goes back to like what makes this country great, right? The American spirit, that grit and that determination of like, if you want something to get done, roll your sleeves up, get dirt under your fingernails, and go make it happen. And it's true. I mean, what did it take for you to get that meeting with the
couple emails?
Yeah. Like we expressed the same interest that our daughter goes to a different school, and we pulled the person in charge of the of their food program aside, and we're like, hey, we would love to stand up like a committee. And they were like, we would love you to do that.
I think so. I really do. I mean, that's what I have found is the people that oftentimes we think of as the bureaucrats are actually just our neighbors.
Yeah. And they want help. They want help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
1,000%.
You talk about the people who are really bearing the burden of the problem.
Yeah.
And they do care, and so, right. I mean, whatever we can do as an organization, this is part of, where our heart is how do we bring change right here where we are and make things better, so anything that we can do, we're all on it. And I've already thought in my mind, like 2 people that you need to meet, in Lubbock, that would just be great, partners for setting. And I think one thing that we have to remember too, is that we in the positions that we're in and the school that you're in, is so different than say like Lubbock High, where everybody's on free lunch, because so many of those kids don't have parents to advocate for them, and, so how do we maybe start somewhere where it's easier, but then bring that to people that are going to be part of our, children's generation. That's who, so we can't leave those other people out of the equation, because what we want for our kids, we need to be helping the kids around them in their generation,
Yeah. But you solve it in one place. And then 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes,
Yes,
so
exactly.
Create the foundational blueprint at your level.
Yes.
And then,
right. And I will say, I think one thing that right now, I mean, I do feel like with the administration that we have now, that there is a sense of wanting to make some changes, and if there's a way to do that, through USDA, who's the one who supplies a lot of our lunch things, and the state, and also, Make America Healthy Again, like how can we take your lofty things that you're saying are going to happen and actually put feet to them, in our communities.
That's exactly what needs to happen. And that starts with parents and people at the ground floor.
Right.
So,
well, and I think it's we get so worked up about making sure that we vote when the president election comes around. But I think we forget so often that we need to be voting who our county commissioners are, who's representing us at the city level, those impact us way more.
Yes, 1,000%. Yeah, we get up in arms and we'll fight our cousins and brothers and uncles over who we're electing for president. Very little impact on your daily life.
Right.
And then all these local elections come and go, and the turnout is abysmal.
So low.
It's abysmal.
Yeah.
Because we're just so disengaged. And really that's what we need to be focusing on, is that, you know, how do we, again, push that ecosystem small and like, you know, in our tribe of 150 people, those are the people we can actually influence. And what are we doing to like be a force of change and be a positive net force in those, those small.
And when you do engage it, it changes the way you perceive it. Instead of getting mad and feeling helpless, you actually have like a little bit of agency. And you don't get mad. Instead, you see a problem and you think that you can do something about it. So,
you know, something I learned kind of the hard way, or my poor kids were the guinea pigs, but when I was homeschooling, I would be like, I don't think they're learning this, and then like try to like cram a bunch of stuff, you know what I mean? Like, we gotta, you know, I've got to get them to get this concept or whatever, and try to cram it all in at a day. And what I realized over time was a small drop fills the cup in the end. And if I pour it all in, they're going to lose more than they're going to acquire, you know? And I think about that now in like change and the things that we do, is like, even if it's just a drop a day, eventually it builds up over time.
Yeah.
It does. Thanks, guys. This has been amazing. And Beefy is wonderful. We came here to talk about Beefy, and we talked about a million other things. But
circuitous route, you know?
Yes, exactly. But I mean, it's all connected because everything is connected.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the message of the day, right?
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Everything's all connected. Right. Thank you, guys. And thanks, friends, for joining us on this winding road of conversation today, which was really great. We look forward to the next episode and having you join us again.